Hi guys, it's Janet. I have Vernita Young with me from Grambling State. First question to you. You just said that COVID has been a blessing in disguise for you. Can you explain on that a little bit?
Yep. Let's see. So COVID has been a blessing to me because I have learned to appreciate me again. I've gotten back to like cooking for myself, doing stuff for myself versus putting everyone else's needs before my own. I've started walking. I've started, like I said, cooking more, watching more TV shows that I hadn't gotten caught up on, watching new TV shows, some different crafts, some stuff that has basically been on my list to be like, you know what, I'll get it done this summer. Basically, it's bumped up and I'm working on getting it done now, or either it's accomplished and then it's just a matter of, okay, now I need to focus on, the other projects that I have around the house that need to get done. So COVID has definitely been a blessing. So I've been able to relax and not, rip and run. And I refer it to a lot of my friends as like the rat race. When you just go, you rip and run so much. I'm not looking forward to getting back to the rat race and I guess the grind of athletic training so much as more so just I enjoy being an athlete trainer, just the grind of hustling to, sun up, sundown. I'm good on that right now. So
So
I'm
has
enjoying
this
this
made you
spacious
so has this
hours.
made you realize how burnout you were, like the level of burnout you were in?
Very much so. So additionally, in as far as working at Grambling, I'm also in graduate school. So on top of having to maintain everything and meet the demands for my job, I'm also making sure that I'm on top of my schoolwork, which the information that they're throwing at us weekly and papers that you have to write and all this other stuff that also impacts it. So I honestly, I got into a point where I literally was on autopilot. You don't realize it until you actually are forced to sit down and realize like, oh, so I don't have to get up and do X, Y, and Z. Oh, I don't have to rip and run. Like it's a weird feeling at first, but then after a while, I'm just like, okay, I can get used to this. So this is what it's like to kind of have like the 9 to 5. Okay, this is what normal people do. Great. Okay, I can do. Wait, you got a weekend to yourself? Okay, let me see how this works. So it takes some getting used to, but I like I said, COVID has been a blessing because it made me stop and realize how burnt out I was.
Switching gears a little bit, you have a lot of students that help you or work with you at Grambling.
Mhm.
What's some of the things you say to them about appearance and how they should act in the athletic training room?
Um, First things first is that they have to be professional. Um, one of my rules, I'm very strict as far as like, no leggings, no tights, um, shorts on the ladies need to be of appropriate length. Um, as far as like my gentlemen, making sure that their clothes are neat, their hair is decent, because if they start looking a little rough, I'll pull and be like, what we got going on? I'm just waiting on haircut, Miss B. Okay, cool. Well, I understand you waiting on the refund. When the refund hit, you make sure you go get that haircut. Okay, all right, great. And it's just a matter of, you know, talking to them and letting them know. Like some of them, like I have a couple of young men that do have dreads, and as long as they keep, and most of the time they keep it nice and neat. I got one young man, he's awesome, he keeps an afro. As long as it's nice and neat, I don't fuss at them at all. Sometimes with my ladies, when they come in with like the wilder hairstyles, I have to realize two things. One, that they're in college. You see what I'm saying? And so you're supposed to learn and express yourself. So I'm not finna be like, what are you doing? Da, 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 da. I can't, And but on the flip side of that, I do explain to them like, this is fine for now, but just understand that in a professional setting, you know, you can't, that's not acceptable in the work field, and that's not so. So especially like my juniors and seniors. My freshmen, I'm not too hard on, but them juniors and seniors, oh, I'll pull them aside and tell them real quick, like, come on. You got internships. You never know who's looking at you, because at that point you're getting ready for graduation. You're getting ready to go into the field. Whatever the field of choice. So at that point, yeah, you definitely need to make sure that it's appropriate and you're dressed and attired appropriately, dressed appropriately. One thing that I've always worked with my students on is, I tell them quick, because we have banquets, different teams require certain measures as far as their attire, like business attire. Well, some people don't realize that club gear or what they would wear to the club is not appropriate for business. But I mean, it also took me a long time too to realize that, not everyone was taught or raised the way that I was. So, it takes patience on my part to, pull them aside. Hey, look, this is what is appropriate. And I usually, before they travel, and that's one of the things we cover before we get into athletics or sports and stuff, that's what I show them or teach them about what's appropriate and what's not appropriate.
So being of a diverse athletic trainer, a lot of times we're the only diverse athletic trainer. What was something that you brought to your program when you were a graduate assistant?
Well, one of my main experiences was, I know when I first got there, my head athletic trainer, he spoke, we had a conversation one time, and it was like trying to like test I can't remember the test. I'm having a brain fart at the moment, but basically test as far as like looking at, cyanosis as far as like in someone with my pigmentation. So, he would come and call me in the office and practice as far as like trying to recognize, certain things, rebound or not rebound, but the refill test, stuff like that. So, in that experience, as far as like, trying to educate himself, I know I helped as far as like educating my colleagues as far as, improving their relationship with our minority athletes at the time, because I mean, you don't know or realize that something you may say, yeah, that might be offensive, or you really shouldn't come off and say that, or say it in that way. There's a better way to state that, I think the one thing that I gained most from my experience in grad school, because I was the only diverse athletic trainer at the time I was there, is that, in my mind, I had to work harder to be the best so that I wouldn't fall or feel like I was falling behind or that I was lacking in some way. So I think being outgoing and learning how to just talk to people, and then just be able, really and truly, they just simple conversations helped break some barriers, and then it helped them learn learn more, basically. Because at that time, Cookeville was not very diverse at all. The only minorities there at the time were the athletes. So it was a catch-22, because the main people that looked like you couldn't hang out with per se. So it was interesting.
Current events right now. Can you tell me a little bit of how you're feeling with everything going on in the world?
The best way to express it is a combination of numbness, anger, and just confusion. Anger in that, no human or no one should be treated the way that Mr. Floyd was treated, nor even Breonna Taylor. Like, there's so many instances, it's uncalled for. The other issue, or the other aspect of it, as far as like the confusion and hurt, just a lot numbness in the fact that I'm witnessing things now that I've heard my parents and grandparents talk about. That was, stuff that was going on during their time and what they did and what they experienced. And I'm just sitting here like, because one of my favorite things to do is to sit and listen to older people talk. Like, you learn so much just by sitting and listening to just by sitting and listening. And particularly older people, because it's like, you hear the things that they've gone through and done, and you learn so much from that. And to hear that things that they experienced 20, 30, 40, 70, 80 years ago is still relevant now in 2020. It's ridiculous. And it's hurtful in the fact that you would think we would be further along, but I think COVID has impacted our society to basically where, okay, you've swept racism up under the rug for so long. Now you can't, because there's no distractions. Like we stated earlier, there's no distractions. You have no choice but to focus on it and deal with it because it's in your face. um I know that when everything first occurred, I just sent a message to my students like, look, because I recognized that they lived in those major cities where they were protesting, where, there was violence breaking out and stuff. And I'm just like, look, do what you feel like you must do, but be safe. Um, it's okay to be angry, and it's okay to feel how you feel, because at the end of the day, I couldn't even come, put what I was feeling into words. So I know one of our coaches, he had a Zoom call with his teammates or with his athletes, just to kind of let them talk and see how they were feeling. Other coaches, they did that as well. Like, we recognized that, our athletes were probably either, that everybody's feeling a way about what's going on. I know I had some sorority sisters that, same thing I told my students. I told my undergraduate sorors that, hey, look, do what you do, but be safe. Um, I think this is something that I don't think, if you had to ask me as a I'm still young, but as a young woman, coming fresh out of college, would I be experiencing or witnessing these type of events? I'd have been like, no, not at all. I couldn't have pictured or imagined it. Or if anybody had asked me, would I be experiencing or witnessing things that my grandparents and parents talked about, I wouldn't have been able to conceive it. And then I think for me, because growing up as a military child, like, I've grown up around every race, nationality, and mix thereof. So to see, so much anger, and it to me, it really like opened my eyes once I got older. Like, I feel like I had blinders on as a child, and some days, even as an adult nowadays, I'm like, I wish I can just go back to childhood where everything was great. Everything was peaceful, we all got along. You didn't see any of that, like, through a child's eyes. But the kids nowadays and children nowadays, they have to see all of this, and it's disheartening, because I feel like they're having to grow up faster than what than the way we had to grow up. You have to face a reality. I shouldn't have to. And I remember, my parents, some of the lessons that my parents told me, and I'm probably rambling and going off of what you told me to, but I just know that, some of the lessons that my parents told us when we go into stores and interacting and dealing with different people, it didn't click until I got older why they said those things. And it was just because they said it was a habit. So when, reality struck, and I was just like, oh, it's like the curtain moved away, and you actually become aware that I've been functioning in that realm this whole time, didn't even realize it. And I just feel like it's sad that our youth have to learn and experience this at this time. So it's very disheartening. But I'm also encouraged in the fact that, you know, change is coming, conversations are starting. I feel like, the actions and everything that are going on now would not have taken place, 5 years ago, because you had incidents that have happened before. And it's like, okay, nothing happened, but this generation now, they're going to make, okay, you got to pay attention now. So it's interesting.
So next couple minutes for you, Vernita Young, your closing statement.
I feel that being a minority athletic trainer is a blessing. I feel like if an athletic trainer can add a minority to their staff, not so much to be per se to be the token, but at the end of the day, it enriches you as a person, as an employer. It enriches you as the experience for your student athletes, because they have someone they can relate to. They have someone that they can actually, and we deal with more mental health issues nowadays with our athletes, that they need someone to talk to. And if they don't have someone that looks like them around, they may not necessarily open up to you or tell you or express to you some of the things that are going on, with them, as they would with someone who doesn't look like them.
Vernita, thank you so much for your time, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. You're welcome.